One quiet afternoon in my early 70s, I was sitting by the window watching people hurry past on the street below. For the first time in my life, I noticed something strange. The way I looked at time had completely changed. When I was younger, life always felt like there would be more time tomorrow, more time to rest, more time to enjoy things, more time to fix mistakes. But suddenly, time felt different. It felt precious. I began thinking about the habits that had filled my days for decades. Things that once felt important. Keeping up appearances, worrying about what others thought, holding on to old arguments, trying to prove myself again and again. And the truth slowly became uncomfortable. Many of those habits no longer felt meaningful. In fact, they felt exhausting. Then, one day, I had a conversation that changed the way I see life forever. My neighbor, who had just turned 92, said something I will never forget. He looked at me and quietly said, "If I could live my life again, I would stop wasting time on things that never truly mattered." That sentence stayed with me, because the painful truth is this: many people spend decades holding on to habits that quietly steal their time, their energy, and their peace, only realizing it when most of life has already passed. Number 1. Trying to impress people who are not truly important. For most of my life, I believed that keeping a good image in front of others was very important. I thought being respected meant always looking successful, always saying the right things, and always showing up where people expected me to be. Like many people, I spent years trying to earn approval from others. Neighbors, colleagues, distant relatives, and even people who barely knew me. Looking back now, I realize how much time and energy that habit quietly consumed. What surprised me even more is that this need to impress others doesn't automatically disappear with age. Many people carry it well into their retirement years. Even after turning 70, some still feel the pressure to attend events, maintain appearances, and prove that they are doing well in life. I remember doing this myself for many years. There were social gatherings I attended regularly, community dinners, formal celebrations, and meetings with people I wasn't particularly close to. At first, I enjoyed them, but over time, they began to feel more like an obligation than a pleasure. Still, I kept going. Part of me believed that if I stopped attending, people might think something was wrong with me, or that I had somehow fallen behind in life. One evening, after returning from yet another gathering that I didn't really enjoy, I sat quietly in my living room and asked myself a simple question. How many of these people would truly stand beside me if I needed them? The answer was uncomfortable. Very few. That realization changed the way I see things now. After 70, something becomes very clear. Admiration from others is temporary, but genuine relationships are rare and deeply valuable. The people who truly matter are not the ones impressed by your image. They are the ones who care about your well-being, who sit with you during difficult times, and who appreciate your presence without any performance. At this stage of life, peace matters more than approval. And the truth I learned a little late is this: trying to impress the wrong people can quietly steal years that could have been spent with the right ones. Number 2, holding on to old resentments. Another habit that quietly wastes time after 70 is holding on to old resentments. When we are younger, anger can feel justified. We believe we are protecting our pride, defending our dignity, or standing up for what is right. And sometimes those feelings are real. But what many people don't realize is how easily a moment of anger can turn into years, even decades, of silent bitterness. Unresolved grudges have a strange way of staying in the heart. At first they feel powerful, almost like a shield. But over time, they become heavy. They sit quietly in the mind, draining emotional energy little by little. And as we grow older, that emotional energy becomes far more valuable than we once imagined. I learned this lesson through someone very close to me. A friend of mine stopped speaking to his brother over what seemed at the time like a serious disagreement about family property. Both of them were proud men, and neither wanted to be the first to apologize. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. Eventually, those years became nearly 40. Whenever I asked my friend if he ever thought about calling his brother, he would shake his head and say, "Maybe one day." But that day kept getting pushed further away. Then one morning, he received a phone call that his brother had passed away suddenly. I will never forget the look on his face when he told me. All those years of silence, all those opportunities to reconnect, were suddenly gone. That moment revealed something painfully clear. Holding on to resentment doesn't punish the other person as much as we think. Often, it only steals peace from our own lives. And the truth many people discover too late is this: forgiveness may feel difficult, but losing the chance to forgive can be far more painful. Number 3, worrying constantly about things you cannot control. One habit that quietly steals time and peace after 70 is constant worrying. When we grow older, it's easy to think more about the future, about our health, about our children, about the world changing so quickly around us. Many older adults spend long hours thinking about problems that feel very real, but are completely outside their control. I have seen this happen to many people, including myself. Worry has a way of making us believe we are doing something useful, as if thinking about a problem over and over might somehow prepare us for it. But the truth is, most of the time, worry changes nothing. Instead, it quietly takes away our peace of mind and replaces it with tension and sleepless nights. I remember a period in my life when I spent months worrying about my adult children. They were making choices I didn't fully understand, and like any parent, I wanted to protect them from mistakes. I would lie awake at night, thinking about what might go wrong. I replayed conversations in my head and imagined every possible outcome. But time passed, and something became very clear. My worrying never changed their decisions. It never solved their problems. The only thing it truly affected was my own sense of calm. One day I realized that my children were living their own lives and learning their own lessons, just like I once did. No amount of worrying could live those experiences for them. That realization brought an unexpected sense of freedom. After 70, you begin to understand that peace comes from focusing only on what you can truly control: your actions, your attitude, and how you choose to spend your time. Everything else is simply part of life's journey. Number 4, trying to keep up with everyone else. Another habit that slowly becomes a waste of time after 70 is the constant urge to keep up with everyone else. Many people believe that comparison is something only younger generations struggle with, but the truth is, it can continue well into later life. Even after retirement, people still compare their lives with others. Some compare their savings, others compare their homes, their children's success, or even how active and healthy they appear. It may not always be spoken out loud, but the quiet habit of measuring one's life against someone else's can remain for many years. The problem with comparison is that it quietly creates pressure where none needs to exist. Instead of appreciating what we already have, we begin to focus on what someone else seems to have more of. And that feeling can slowly turn into dissatisfaction. I remember a neighbor of mine who retired around the same time I did. He was a hard-working man who had lived a respectable life. But after retirement, he often talked about how others seemed to be doing better than him. One neighbor had traveled to many countries. Another had bought a larger house. And someone else's children had more prestigious careers. Every time we spoke, he compared his life with theirs. What made it sad was that, from my perspective, his life was already full. He had a caring family, a comfortable home, and good health for his age. But because he constantly measured his life against others, he felt as though he had somehow fallen behind. Watching this made me realize something important. Comparison can quietly steal the joy from a perfectly good life. After 70, many people begin to see that life is not a competition. Everyone's journey is different, shaped by different choices, opportunities, and circumstances. True contentment begins the moment we stop measuring our lives against someone else's path. When that habit disappears, something beautiful happens. You finally begin to appreciate your life exactly as it is. Number 5, refusing help out of pride. Another habit that quietly becomes a waste of time after 70 is refusing help out of pride. Many people from older generations were raised to believe that independence means handling everything alone. Asking for help was often seen as weakness or as a sign that you were no longer capable. I believed this for many years. As we age, everyday tasks can slowly become more difficult. Lifting heavy objects, fixing things around the house, even simple chores that once felt effortless. But instead of asking for support, many older adults push themselves to keep doing everything the same way they always have. The problem is that this belief can make life unnecessarily difficult. Instead of making life easier, pride can quietly create stress, frustration, and sometimes even physical strain. I remember going through this myself. There was a period when simple household tasks started taking much longer than they used to. Carrying groceries, moving small pieces of furniture, fixing things around the house, Things that once took minutes suddenly felt exhausting. Still, I refused to ask my family for help. I kept telling myself that I should be able to manage on my own. For months, I struggled silently. Eventually, my daughter noticed and insisted on helping me. At first, I felt uncomfortable accepting it. But something surprising happened once I allowed it. Instead of feeling weaker, I felt relieved. And more importantly, those moments created more time together. Small conversations, shared laughter, and a sense of closeness that hadn't been there before.
That experience taught me something valuable. Accepting help doesn't take away independence. In many ways, it strengthens the bonds between people who care about each other. Sometimes, allowing others to help is not a burden. It's an opportunity for connection. Number 6. Spending too much time living in the past. Another habit that slowly becomes a waste of time after 70 is spending too much time living in the past. As we grow older, memories naturally become a bigger part of our lives. We remember the years when we were stronger, busier, and surrounded by constant activity. We think about old achievements, old friendships, and sometimes old regrets. There is nothing wrong with remembering the past. In many ways, memories are a beautiful part of growing older. They remind us of the life we've lived and the experiences that shaped us. But when the past becomes the place where we spend most of our time mentally, it can quietly steal the joy of the present.
Some people begin to believe that the best part of their life has already happened. And once that belief settles in, it can slowly close the door to new experiences. I remember a friend of mine who used to say the same sentence almost every time we met. He would smile gently and say, "My best years are behind me." At first, it sounded like a simple reflection, but over time, I noticed that he stopped trying new things. He no longer joined social activities, stopped traveling, and slowly withdrew from many things he once enjoyed. It wasn't because he couldn't do them anymore. It was because he had convinced himself that nothing ahead could ever be as meaningful as what he had already lived. Watching this made me realize something important. When people believe their story is already finished, they stop writing new chapters. The truth is, life after 70 may look different, but it can still be meaningful, peaceful, and even joyful. New friendships can form, new hobbies can appear, and new memories can still be created. The present moment still belongs to us, and sometimes the most beautiful part of life is discovering that even in our later years, there is still something new waiting just ahead. As I look back on these habits now, something becomes very clear. Many of the things that once felt normal, even necessary, slowly reveal themselves as burdens later in life. For years, we follow certain patterns without questioning them. We try to impress people, hold onto old resentments, worry about things beyond our control, compare our lives to others, refuse help out of pride, or spend too much time looking backward. At the time, these habits may feel harmless. Some even feel important. But as the years pass, we begin to see the hidden cost. They quietly take away time, energy, and peace. things that become far more valuable as we grow older. After 70, time begins to feel different. You start to realize that every day carries more meaning than it once did. The small moments, simple conversations, peaceful mornings, laughter with family, suddenly feel more important than many of the things we once chased for decades. That is why this realization matters, not only for those over 70, but for people of every age. The earlier we recognize which habits truly serve our lives, the more time we have to live with clarity and intention. And the most powerful truth I have learned is this: the greatest freedom in later life does not come from gaining more things. It comes from letting go of the habits that no longer bring peace, meaning, or happiness.